It's late. You've already brushed your teeth. You're back in bed with the lights off, phone screen pointed at the ceiling, and you type the 4 words you've typed before. Prophetic word for me. You scroll past the first 3 thumbnails because you've already watched them. You click the 4th one. A stranger says, "I felt led to tell someone watching this." And your heart does the thing you can't stop it from doing. It hopes. You have a folder. You wouldn't say it out loud to anyone. It's named something innocuous, encouragement, or faith. Inside it are dozens of saved videos, all variations of the same promise. You watch them when the weight gets loud. You haven't deleted any of them, because deleting them would feel like deleting hope. And you've prayed, God. You have prayed. Just tell me one thing about him, a name, a detail, anything. And the silence in response to that prayer has been the loudest silence you've ever heard. Hear me, beloved. What I'm about to tell you is not another version of trust the timing. You've heard that. You're tired of that. What I'm about to tell you is something else entirely. Something that should shift the floor beneath you. God is not silent on the subject of this man. He is not withholding information. He is not waiting for you to be holy enough to receive it. He wrote it down. In your Bible. You've been begging for a private letter, and he published a public manuscript. You've been checking the mailbox of your own heart every morning for a personalized note with his name on it, and the whole time, the book has been sitting on your shelf. Private revelation cannot override public revelation. It can only confirm it. That's the rule for every dream, every prophetic word, every nudge in your spirit. Anything God says privately must align with what he has already said publicly, which means what he has already said publicly is the floor of everything he will ever tell you privately, the starting point. The first text you should be studying, and the manuscript is more specific than you realized. Open Psalm 112. Most women have never read it as a husband portrait. They read it as a generic righteousness psalm and move on. But read it slowly tonight. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who finds great delight in his commands. Start there. His foundation is not you. It is not his career, his reputation, or how he feels on a given morning. He fears God, which means everything else in his life is being measured against a standard you didn't have to set, and a standard he cannot lower for you. You will not be the thing holding him together. God already is. He is gracious and compassionate and righteous. His masculinity is generous, not extractive. He gives. He sees. He doesn't take up all the air in the room. And then read this verse slowly, because this verse alone is worth everything. He will have no fear of bad news. His heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord. Read that again. He will have no fear of bad news. His heart is firm. That is not a personality trait. That is a man whose nervous system has been re-anchored to God instead of to circumstance. The kind of man who, when your diagnosis comes, when your father dies, when your child is in the ICU, when the plan collapses, does not collapse. His heart is firm. Because it was firm before he ever met you. This is not a wish list. This is not a dating app filter. This is God's own description of the man he plants and prospers, the man He gives. And God wrote it and published it in a psalm that has been sitting in your Bible your whole life. But Psalm 112 only shows you the outside. It shows you how he moves through the world, how he holds his money, how he handles crisis. It doesn't show you what is happening inside him before he ever crosses the threshold of your life. For that, you need Job 31. Most people read Job for the suffering. Almost no one reads Job 31. And yet Job 31 is one of the most remarkable self-portraits of integrity in the entire Bible. Job, vindicating himself before God, walks through the internal covenants he made before any external test came. And the very first one he names is this: I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman. Stop on that. He didn't make the covenant when he was tempted. He didn't make it when he met his wife. He made it with himself, in private, before God, about what his eyes would and would not do. Before there was a wife to be faithful to, he was already being faithful. That is the kind of man God is forming. Not a man who will try to be faithful once he has you. A man who has already decided who he is when no one is watching. A man whose private architecture is being built by God in silence, often through his own loneliness, long before he ever finds his way to you. Now, hold Psalm 112 and Job 31 together. One is the public-facing portrait, how he moves through the world, what he fears, how he holds himself under pressure. The other is the internal portrait, what covenants he makes when no one can see them, what he has already decided about his eyes, his mouth, his integrity. This is what God said about him. This is what God has said about every man he has ever given to a daughter who feared him. This is the description that has been waiting in your Bible while you were watching strangers on the internet and promise you a whisper. And it changes the question you've been asking. Because the question you've been asking is he the one? That question presumes a specific man and waits for a verdict. It is the wrong question. The right question is he becoming a Psalm 112 man? Is he making Job 31 covenants? Trajectory, not verdict. Direction, not benchmark. Becoming, not arrived. No man God sends will arrive perfect. He will arrive becoming. And the only way you will recognize him is if you have already studied the description. Now hear this, and this is the part most teaching on this subject leaves out. The same God who described him already saw you. Psalm 139. You saw my unformed substance. In your book were written every one of the days that were formed for me, when as yet there were none of them. Before there was a face to see, God saw your face. That is not poetry. That is theology with your name on it. The thumbnail of this video says, He already saw your face. The he in that line is not, ultimately, your future husband. It is God. The God who is forming the man you're waiting for is the same God who saw you in your mother's womb before you were a person anyone could love. Two faces, one author, one timeline. You are not waiting in the dark. You are waiting in the same hand that is forming him. So stop checking the mailbox. The letter was published. Open it. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You are not behind schedule in some cosmic lottery no one told you the rules to. You are being read by the same author who wrote the description of the man who is coming. And he wrote both of you into the same story before either of you had a page. There is one more thing to say before this ends, and it is important enough that you need to hear it clearly. Psalm 112 is not a checklist. It is a direction. No man you ever meet will arrive there fully formed. Every godly man is becoming that, and the question is not whether he has arrived, but whether he is moving toward fearing God, toward generosity, toward steady-heartedness, toward private integrity. If he is moving in that direction, that is a green light, not a red flag with a grace period. Don't take what you've heard tonight into your relationship as a weapon. Take it into your heart as a compass. And if you're listening to this, and a man in your past failed every one of those verses, who crumbled under bad news, who broke private covenants, who was harsh where he should have been gracious, hear this with both ears. Your nervous system may react to a steady man like he's foreign.